Hello and welcome to this week's webinar in the series of webinars that we are currently running fortnightly. In this session, I hope to show you how you can take one of your existing UBL user input programs and give it a modern graphical front end using UBL Studio. We also have a guest presenter, David Troll from HCC in Texas. HCC specialize in pharmacy solutions and have recently transformed their UBL application to an impressive modern graphical application using UBL Studio. If you have any questions during the presentation, please use your GoToMeeting panel to submit them and I will try my best to answer them at the end. The first thing we must do after identifying a program that we want to give a splash of GUI to is to design a form layout in UBL Studio. This is a simple process involving using a point-and-click forms designer. UBL Studio automatically generates all the code that's needed to create and control the form, but then we must add our own code from the old version of the program to make it do what it needs to do. I'm going to show you one way of doing this today. We'll be copying and pasting the old program into the new form and modifying it to work in a GUI environment. Contrary to what some of the marketing emails have gone out saying, you will have to modify the existing code to make it fit into this framework. You will be making calls into the old code from event handlers on the GUI side that UBL Studio will automatically create for us. Any of the old code that issue print or input commands will need to be changed, as we mustn't use those commands from a form. In a form, we only communicate to the user using graphical objects. Okay, so for this demo, I'll be given an old program that most of you should have seen before, a new graphical front end. The program is called UBL LinkU and is one of the business basic utilities that we supply with UBL. All you need to have to be able to run this program and the other basic tools we supply is to set bblib to point to the UBL lib file that is in the UBL release. So that's what you need to set there. So this is the old UBL LinkU. It's a utility that used to manage your links in the bblink file. You can list all your current links with option 1, where you get a pager if it goes over a screen. You can add links with option 3. So I'll just add one here. And you can remove links with option 4. So I'll just remove the one that I just created. Etc. This looks fairly typical of a character type application, albeit a very simple one, but it makes a good example for today. So the first thing we must do to make this graphical is to use UBL Studio to create a new screen. So I'll bring up UBL Studio and I'll create a new form. So the first thing I'll put in is a title, so I'll use a text box to store the title and I'll call it GUI link utility, and I'll set the font to Arial and size 16. I'll keep the back foreground color, but I'll use a shade of blue for the background. And I'll center it horizontally and vertically in the box. Move that to the top. Okay, so the first thing I'll do, I'll put some fields in to store the current directory the link table file name, and the link type. So I'll put those in now. I'll put in a couple of labels. So I'll set the text to current directory. Change the size. And set this to link table file. And the next one is our link type. And now I'll add some edit boxes to store the actual information. So I'm going to give it a variable name here. This is the name that will refer to it in our program. So I'm going to prefix all my controls with EDT for edit, as in an edit box. So I'll call this edit current working directory. I'm going to set it to read only because I don't want the user to change it, because if it's information only, and I'll remove the text. And I'll do the same for link type. So I'll call that EDT file, specify it as read only, make it a bit bigger. Ooh. And I don't want any text. And the next one, link type. And set read only. And remove the text. Okay, so I can format these now, justify them a bit better, position them rather, and just move that one. Just make it nice, look nice. And I can put a group box around them to make it a bit neater. And I'll set the text for that to be link table. And then I'll add a couple of fields, a link name and resolves to, that we'll be using to actually modify the values. So I'll just put in the text first, link name. And resolves to. And I'll add the edit boxes in. So I'll call this one EDT name. And remove the text. Now I don't want this to be read only because I want the user to be able to edit this one. And also the resolves to the same. So I'll make that one a bit bigger. So I'll call that EDT2. Remove the text. Move the position. Okay, so I've got some information. The first option here, you can list all the links. So I need to have some way of storing of listing all the links available to you. So in the GUI form, I'm going to actually use a list view control. This is a new control that's been added into UBL 520, so you will need UBL 520 for this to work. But I'm going to use this to store all the links. So I'll go into the properties, I'll call it list links, and I'll add some columns. So I need 2 columns. I need a link name and resolves to. So I'll type in link name. Want the width to be 200 pixels. Add that, and also I want resolves to. Add that, and the styles. I always want it to show the selection. So if the control's not in focus, I still want the user to see which is the selected item. I'd also want the full row to be selected, so if you click anywhere on the row, it selects the whole row. And I want the getText command to return only the first column. Okay, and the last thing to do is to add 2 buttons, one for saving a link entry and one for deleting the link. So I'll set this one to button save. And I'll set this one to delete. So I'll call it button del. Okay, so I'll save it now. And I'll call it GUI link queue instead of UBL link queue. Okay, so I can run that form now. So if I right click and run, you can see it running in UBL, but obviously it doesn't do anything because I haven't put any code behind it. Apart from the close, that works. So the next step is to put some code behind it. So the first thing I'll implement is, if I go back to the main screen, I'll populate the current directory link table file on link type. So that's the first 3 fields. So let's have a look at how to do that. So the first thing I need to do is bring up the old UGI. Right. So this is my current program, my UBL link queue. I need to get this code and I need to put it in my form. So the first thing I'm going to do is I always find lots of line numbers a bit confusing. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to get rid of all those by typing else strip. You don't have to do this, it's purely optional. But I find it makes it much easier to read the code once you've done that, because it removes any line numbers that haven't been referenced. So now I'm going to select the whole program and put it in the paste buffer. I'm going to go into UBL Studio, into my form designer, and go into edit code mode. And this is the code that is generated so far. There's not a lot there, there's just the event handlers. Now I'm going to put at the top of the program, I'm going to paste the whole of the old UBL link queue program. Now I can do that because it's not going to actually call any of this code, because UBL Studio will only call code from these event handlers at the end. So I can paste things around it and it won't affect it. But what I will do, I will do go subs into the old code. So so the first thing I need to do, I need to call the old initialization code. So it's basically this here. So I'm going to add a line number at the top here, but I'll use labels because I don't like line numbers. Easy to remember. So I'll put a prog init label there. So I'll do a go sub to here later. And so this is the initialization code. I want it to run all this, but I don't want it to go to display menu because that's going to print the old screen, and I really don't want it to do that. So here I'll do a return. So in my UBL Studio handler for user initialization, I can just do a go sub into there now. So I'll just do go sub prog init, and that's that done. Now I need to actually fill in the edit boxes with the values here. So let's have a look how to do that. So in this code here, in the initialization code, it does a go sub to 3060. Now this is the bit where it actually figures all that bit out in the old code. So if I have a look at that code, there it is. So here it finds out it works out the directory there, it works out the link type here, and it works out the link file here. So all the information I need is already been populated in these variables by the old code. So all I need to do is to use the setText command to put those variables in. So I'll do that now. Now one thing with this form user init handler is this gets called before the actual form has been created. So I can't really do any GUI commands in here because the form's not actually visible yet. So what I need to do, I need to add a handler for the main form for onCreate. Now this will get called after all these GUI objects have been created, so I can populate it then. So go back into code view. So on form create, UBL Studio's created this for me, so I'll use the setText command to write to the edit current working directory field with the dir variable. I'll do the same with the file name, edit file, and it was lfile. I'll do setText on edit type, and that was ltype $. So I'll save that. Now if I run this, you can see it's populated it with the same information that the old one had there. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is I need to populate this list view here with all the links. So let's have a look how to do that. Now in the old code, it's got a routine here somewhere that actually does it. So I'm just going to steal the same code again. So this is it here. This code is the one that displays it in the old program. So it opens the links file and then it displays some things. We don't want it to actually print anything, so I'm just going to remove the columns there because I'm not interested in bits that do screen I/O. And also here there's some code that does the pager. So I'm going to get rid of all this pager code because we don't need this anymore. So I'll delete that. So now our code is, but basically all that we were interested in is the code that extracts the link name and the resolves name. We're not interested in all that printing stuff. So now the code has extracted that, I'm going to add that to the list view. So I'm going to write some code here. So I'm going to store the link name. I'll explain this in a second. I'm going to use the add lv item command, which again is another new command in UBL 520. I'm going to add it to the list links list view, I want it to add to the end of the list, and I want to add $, which is my link name concatenated with the resolves name separated by a tab, and UBL knows that if there's a tab in there, it will split it between the two columns. And if I wanted to have an icon, I'd specify it here, but I'm not using an icon. And also, it'd be quite useful to store the number of items that I'm actually adding for later. So I'll just have a little count here. So obviously I need to set that to 0 at the top of the routine. And also, just for ease of remembering, I'm going to put a label here as well, so I don't have to remember that line number. Oh, and I need to dimension my $, which I used there, so I'll go to the top and add that in. Okay, so all I need to do now is to actually go sub to that routine in my handler. So in onForm create, as well as setting those 3 fields, I'm actually going to do a go sub to list links. So now we should be able to run this. And as you can see, it populates the list view. Okay, so the next thing I need to do with this program is when I actually select an item in this list view, I want the same information to be populated in these edit boxes so that I can later change them. So let's have a look at doing that. So the first thing I need to do is for the list view, I need to add an event called cell change. Now this, every time a user changes selection on the list view, I want it to call this event handler. So I'll go to that code now. So this is my handler. Now to save you watching me type in some code, I'm going to paste some code that I prepared earlier in here. So what this does, when the user clicks on one of the items in the list view, this gets the item that they selected, and then it does a set text in the edit box of the edit name, and then it uses SME11 to resolve the link, and then it sets that in the other edit box. So let's have a look at that running. And there we go, it changes. You can see it changing there with my selections. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is when I actually change one of the entries in here, I want it to actually, when I press the save, I want it to actually save the information, which is not doing at the minute. So let's do that. So the first thing I need to do, I need to add an event handler for when the user presses the save button. So I'll do clicked on the save button. Now I'll go into the code, have a look at that. And to save you watching me type again, I'll put some paste some code that I prepared earlier. Okay, so when I press the save button, I do a get text on the 2 fields that I'm interested in. I delete the link. I recreate the link. Bring a message box with an error if there is a link, if there is a problem. and then I have to refresh the links in the list view because they've obviously changed now. And since I'm refreshing, I need to actually clear the existing links, which is not doing at the minute, so I'll just do that in the list links routine. Here we go. At the top, I'll just delete all the items in the list view, otherwise they'll appear twice. They'll reappear every time I press the save and they'll duplicate. So I'll do del item list links -1 means delete them all. So let's have a look at that running now. So if I change this and press the save button, you've seen it changes it there, so that now works. So if let's go to the end one and change the last one. So if I change that and press save, you'll see that the refresh has actually redrawn the whole control, and I've lost my selection, and you can't really see here, but there's a slight there's a refresh, it'll take a while to redraw because there's not many items. It's difficult to see that, but I'll just show you that running in the debugger just to show you. So it works, but it's not ideal. So I'll just put a breakpoint in the listing. In the list links. So I'll run the program and continue there. So now if I modify that last one again, press save. Now if I step through the code here, you'll see what it's doing. So it adds each item individually, and obviously if you had a few thousand entries in here, it would obviously take a while to do that. So it works, but it's not ideal. It would be much better if instead of refreshing the whole list, if we could just delete the item that we're currently on and re-add it in the same position. That would look much neater. So let's have a go at doing that. Okay, so I'll go back to my event handler where it does the here, let's see now. Okay, so back to my save button. I've got some code that I prepared earlier, so I'll put that in. So I'll replace my old save with this new version, which is a bit bigger. So it does get text on the link name and the resolves to, deletes the link, and then it finds out the currently selected number, and it deletes only that item in the list view. Then it re-adds the link, and then it adds just the item back in the same position as it was, and then it actually makes that item selected again. So it should run much cleaner. So let's have a look at that running. So let's modify the end because it's easier to see it being slow. And if I do a change here and press save, you can see it's much cleaner. It just updated the one. It didn't change any position in the list view. And there we go, it's much quicker. Okay, so the last thing we need to do is to implement the delete button. So I'll do that quickly. So again, I'll add an event handler clicked on the delete. I'll go into that code, handler, and again I'll save you watching me type, and I'll paste some code that I've previously prepared. So this gets the link that we're currently on, and it brings up a message box just to confirm that you want to delete it. If you do, it deletes it, and then it gets the item, the currently selected item in the list, deletes the item from there as well, and blanks out the link to and from. So let's save that and give that a whirl. So now if I press delete on there, it should go, are you sure you want to do this? Yes. And there you go, it's gone. Try that again. Delete. Yes. It's gone. Okay, so we've got a fully functional GUI application there in about 30 minutes that we just converted. So that's pretty good going, I think. If you got a bit more time, I mean, I can show the same thing running in UGI as well, just so you can see outside of UBL Studio. It's the same thing running there. So if you got a bit more time to spend on your form, you could come up with something like this maybe. GUI demo 2. Now this test program is this program here is actually shipped with the UBL release now, so please feel free to have a look at it. It's just a demo program that I knocked up. It's got about 1,000 entries in here. It doesn't take very long to populate them, and it shows the different types of views that you can have in the list view. You can have you can put icons there. You can have different colors on the different rows in the list view. You can have different styles of reports. So this is large icons. You can have small icons, and yeah. So feel free to have a look at that program and have a play with it. Okay, that concludes the demonstration. Now I'd like to hand over to David Trull, who's the Senior Software and Quality Control Manager at HCC. David, are you there?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay. What I was going to show you here is how we took our legacy character-based environment and went and converted it over to the GUI-based environment with Transoft assistance. If you'll go to the first slide, please. This is a sample screen here from our pharmacy software. This is our fill prescription, which is where the majority of the software is used. This is where they actually enter in prescription information, refill prescriptions, things of that nature. As you can see, it's completely character-based. Pretty much the dark-colored areas you're seeing are actually yellow if you were to see them in real world. This is running on Unix. It's been in the field for 20 years. With our new software, we thought, well, we want to go ahead and bring this into the Windows environment. New customers are coming in. They're wanting to see character and GUI separated. They don't really like, to their impression, this is some older software. Even though it's very fast and very efficient, it just looks old to them. If you'll hit the next slide, please. So what we did was we partnered with Transoft on this to develop a GUI-based environment for it. What you see here is the initial proof of concept we worked with Transoft directly on. We went and took our main menu and converted it all to GUI with the buttons. Several things are still similar to how they were in our character-based. The terminal information on the right, the date on the left, the last backup information at the bottom. We kept that for that feel for customers who would be migrating over, so they still saw the same information, but we converted everything into GUI. We also kept the line numbers so they could be accessed, because people who are much more efficient and much more used to the character-based environment would still want to be able to use that functionality without having to use the mouse or a touch screen. The buttons are rather large because we did incorporate touch screen functionality for them to be able to use that. If you hit the next screen, please. This is actually our final product and what we have in the field. We've gone through and refined it even more to make the buttons much more transparent and better images, a little higher resolution. This is what customers are now using. As you see, we still kept a lot of the character-based aspects that were on the first screen, but we've went ahead and refined it even more. And if you'll go to the next one, please. And this is our actual fill screen that we've converted over. The exact same information as you saw on the first screen with the character base is all here, but we've added even more content. We've added quick buttons for like the change and maintain. We've added the yellow coloring for notes to make them stand out. We kept the red text so that important information would show up. We've converted a lot of the things to the buttons to, the character to the buttons. For the notes, instead of being able to pick field 15, you would then have to pick 15, and you have to type in, do you want R for RX notes or C for customer notes? Well, now they can hit the buttons directly. And on top of that, we can even advance more and add more graphics on top of those. There are several places, if you went into a prescription past this point, you would even see more buttons that we've added, icons on there for viewing the pictures and things of that nature. And if you go to the last screen, please. And this just demonstrates what we're seeing in the future, where we're thinking our partnership with Transoft can take us. We want to add a much more graphical feel on the side here. As you see, we're going to try to add in quick launch buttons so that when they hit their function keys, they can go directly to specific parts of our software. Currently, for instance, if they wanted to go under maintain patients, which is option 1, right now they're in option 5, which is fill prescription, they would have to exit out of this screen back to the fill prescription screen, then exit out again back to the main menu, then hit 1 for maintain customers, and then actually hit 1 to get to maintain patients. We envision being able to have that function key and that graphical nature there so that whether it's a touch screen or a mouse, or they can just hit that F1 key, they can jump straight from this part of the software directly into that maintain patients part of the software. It gives a lot more futuristic feel for them compared to where a lot of our customers we're trying to upgrade are still in that character base, and they can see that it's saving them time, it's saving them effort, and gives them a direction they want to move off of it. Also, being a Windows-based product now, we can also use the money-saving features of moving off of a Unix-based environment with its licensing and stuff to get to a Windows OS. So that's really on our end where we've really seen the application jump forward as far as what we can offer customers with going to a GUI-based environment. All of our background programs here are still the original UBL programs that ran on the Unix operating system. We've just put in the code to test to see if it's running in GUI. It's going to perform differently. It's going to call the forms, versus if it's still running in the Unix environment, it's still using that character-based. By adding just the forms, and some programs we've had to change, but just by adding those forms in there, on top of our existing source, we've added a whole new product to what customers see. But as us, as a company, we still have a single source, a single software base to base everything off of. Thank you.
Thanks very much, David. It's a really nice looking application. Okay, so you've got your graphical screens. Now where can you take your UBL from here? Well, UBI can run your application from a web browser without any modification to your code, even without using UBL Studio or any graphical objects. If you do this, your screens will look pretty much as they do now, but in a browser. If you use UBL Studio to give it a splash of GUI in there, the results can look much more modern. This screen can be customized further by modifying the style sheet to change the colors, the fonts, and also you can incorporate the application into your own website template and have banners, links, etc. around the form. If you want real-time access to your UBL data, USQL can connect you to ODBC, JDBC, ADO.NET providers. This will open up your data so that it can be used for data integration or enable the use of business intelligence and reporting products like Crystal Reports, Cognos, Impromptu, and Actuate. If you would rather replace your BBISAM database and allow your UBL programs to run against real RDBMS, our DB Pronto product will let you do this without modifying a single line of your UBL code. DB Pronto has been around for a few years for our COBOL and UFOS customers. We have recently completed work for it to run with UBL and are looking for beta customers. So if you're interested in becoming one, please get in touch with us. TCA is our application integration and application modernization platform. It is fully integrated data and code in disparate systems, UBL, COBOL, RPG, Java. You can reuse trusted software assets by creating services from existing UBL code, develop a new user interface using .NET, Java, or any other modern language, and use existing business logic in UBL, and it's an alternative to UBL Studio. DB Integrate is our new data integration platform. It provides data cleansing, data mapping, data transformation, data deduplication, data profiling. It can talk directly to your UBL data, but it's also a multi-purpose tool that can be used for all your corporate databases. Please see our website for further information on this product. Our next webinar will be on Tuesday 29th of March and is titled Legacy Application Integration and SOA. I hope you can join us for that one. UBL training is available on request, and please keep up to date with our blog on transoftdev.wordpress.com. That concludes today's presentation. I'll just see if there's any questions. No, I can't see any questions. So thanks very much for attending today, and thanks again. Bye.